look at half roll back. So half roll back is getting some ab engagement. It's about maintaining the C curve of the spine. So we're rolling off the sit bones and having that pelvis posteriorly tilt and tuck back. So set up, feet are hip width apart, therefore knees and hips line up. And then I'm sitting on the sit bones to start. Now I'm going to show you the front view. So this is the front view, and then side view from here. Now, when we're doing this exercise, I like to break it down. So often I will start with pelvic tilts. And the idea behind rolling off the sit bones and then exhale, coming back forward and lengthening up, is for the client to feel themselves roll off the sit bones, but also to get this posterior tilt and to get that C shape in the spine. What we need to watch and look for is that people will hike their shoulders and tense up into their upper body, or they're gonna really grip into their hands. So we gotta watch that we're not gripping into the hands as we go back. So relax through the upper body. We're moving from our lower abdominals. We roll off the sit bones, scoop, draw the lower abdominals in to come back in. One cue I really like is that when you return, think about bringing your shoulders over your hips first, then lengthening up tailbone to head. So we're lengthening up from the bottom of the spine up. Then once the client has that, I'm going to go into a bigger roll back. So that was just pelvic tilts. Then I'm going to have them go a little bit farther and their hands can slide down their thighs. So they're going to roll off the sit bones and they're sliding back, trying to keep that curve, trying to avoid the shoulders from hiking, and then trying to get the small of their back towards the floor, but keeping their feet in contact. Exhale, scoop the abdominals to come back forward. So again, I can have the hands there, inhale back, but I'm not gripping with the hands. Exhale, scoop to come forward. If they've got that, you can take the hands away. Inhale back, exhale forward. Again, we always want the feet in contact with the floor. Now, if they're struggling with keeping their knees still, you could always put a little ball between the knees just to stabilize. It will also help them connect into their pelvic floor and their lower abdominals. Now, there are tons of variations that we can do with half roll back, which makes it lots of fun. So, and part of the reason we want to strengthen half roll back is it can build up into teaser, which we will learn later. So, if you want to use soft weighted balls, the soft weighted balls, when you position your hands, think of it as palms down as level 1, thumb up as level 2, palms up as level 3. But you can do all of these arm variations without the weights. This is just adding some resistance. You could always put a band in your hands and do some variations of arm pulls with the band. You could also hold a circle between your hand. I mentioned you could have the ball between the knees. You could have the ball in your hands. So we were discussing half roll back and just looking at it with different populations. So when we're considering the pregnant population or even postnatal with a diastasis recti, what has happened with a diastasis recti is the linea alba, which is the tissue between the muscle, has separated. And this is because of the expansion of the belly when the baby is growing. It's natural and everyone experiences it, but the degree in which it occurs will vary between women. So what we want to consider is, how do we not make it greater? How do we maintain and control it? So when we're looking at the diastasis recti, before the individual moves, we want to think about drawing the muscles towards each other. It's not about sucking in the abs and being really tense in the belly. It's just about creating tone. So if we think of wearing a corset and someone were to tighten that corset behind us, it's just drawing the tissues towards each other. Then as they roll back, they should be able to maintain that. Once they start to feel like they're losing that tension, that's the cue to come forward. If they're looking for a visual cue, as they roll back, as long as their belly stays the same shape, we're good. Once they start to see a little bit of a doming, what that is like the tissue has separated and now some bulge is happening in between, that's our cue to stop. So depending on the severity, it might not be the appropriate exercise for that individual. If they can control their contraction and avoid the doming from happening, they're fine to continue with that exercise. But it's teaching the client how to monitor, but also how to control it so it doesn't get increased. If they need other exercises to help them understand that drawing, it's more like doing Pilates presses. So for example, we could do it on the reformer, you could do it with an elastic band. A Pilates press, the resistance would be coming from the side. Again, I'm trying to create that girdle, and then I'm pressing into the band and I'm stabilizing through the trunk, thinking about that contraction and not having any doming. If they can do something like that, then they should be able to add in some movement as long as they can control it. The other thing to consider is that people often have tight hips. So this is why I'm sitting on the box, because with a pregnant population, tight hips can occur, especially as the pelvis is changing. So you might elevate them on the box to give them some relief. It also allows the belly to have more space as they're moving. And then just general, if people have tight hips. The other thing I want to backtrack a little bit with the diastasis. So just because the baby is born doesn't mean that it completely goes away. So it is something we would continue to monitor and pay attention to with the exercises post pregnancy. And that can go on for a while until the tone is developed. So we can vary the height of a box that someone sits on for hips. It could be just a simple block on the mat. If their hips are really tight, then I would put them on a box. But really, in an ideal position, if the hips are above 90 degrees, so above the knees, that's going to have the least strain on the low back and the hips. And then as we bring the box height down, it becomes more challenging, which takes us to the floor. And so when we're on the box, the exercise is the same. I'm still sitting on the sit bones. I'm rolling off the sit bones, getting that posterior tilt, keeping that connection in the abdominals, keeping the shoulders down and away from the ears, and then exhale, scoop, and come up. They're just getting less grippy into the hips. Sometimes when they're grippy into the hips, it's a distraction and they can't actually get into the exercise. And then as they get stronger, the hips will become less of an issue.